Hey everyone, I'm McDowell here with another YouTube video. I was going to be doing one about punching, but it was raining and I didn't get a chance to go out in the garage. And almost all my equipment's out in the garage. So please excuse the lighting and a little bit of dark shadows. I'll try to see if I can work in editing. But today I was going to talk about punching, so I'll basically be talking a little bit about boxing, and most of all, probably be talking a little bit about katas because that'll probably be the video upon the punching video. It'll be like the first kata. So punching. We all been growing up and learning how to punch and kick our whole lives. Ever since when we first came out of the womb, we were punching and kicking the whole time. We're running. We're learning how to use our hands, how to use our feet. So we already know how to punch and kick. So if I would have showed a video about that, it'd be a very short video. But when it comes to actual punching, though, training punching, it requires a little more technique to it. Now, of course, punching has changed throughout the centuries, just like boxing basically was once the number one sport in America. When we first became a country, the two things we actually inherited sport wise, well, probably several things, but the most combat sport that we inherited the most, that was practiced throughout the 1800s, was boxing. And since boxing has always been around both in all parts of the world, way before the MMA, before it was even discovered and manufactured in America, MMA was. Boxing was like the number one combative sport for for any kind of amateur and professional fighters. And of course, when they start out doing punching, originally it was all illegal punching, was bare knuckle fighting. So you had nothing but bare knuckle fighting, and that was it, or was knuckle rapping. Similar to what they did back in the MMA back in the early 90s, is that they used to do a lot of bare knuckle fighting. A very bloody mess. A lot of fighters having broken knuckles because, just like Bruce Lee said, if you had not trained every single muscle in your body or even in your hand, you're going to break a bone, tear a muscle in your hand. So the thing is, you got to learn how to not only discipline your body, but also discipline your hands, your muscles, and your mind as well to try to get work through that pain. And that's the reason why a lot of men actually have boxed over the years and got brain damage. Originally, when they started doing boxing, it was 15 rounds. That was regulated. It was regulated boxing and became 15 rounds. And later on, nowadays, it's mostly 10 rounds because of brain damage. So a lot of regulations cause boxing for safety of the fighters. Because even when you are a pro fighter, your career is pretty short because you're getting all the pounds around your head and causing brain damage. Because even with these boxing mitts, I mean, let me show you. Now the boxing mitts back in the day were real thick boxing mitts. These are my dad's old boxing mitts, and the thing is, if you can see, they are really thick. They're supposed to protect the hands, but the problem is that a lot of boxers got brain damage because they're so thick. It's like getting punched by a wrecking ball. So when I'm going to start doing a video about punching. Every time you throw a punch, it has to be as strong as a wrecking ball. So every time when it comes around, remember, that's a lot of forces coming around. If it breaks you, it's going to hurt you and mess you up real good. With one hit, well, almost usually one knockout. It depends on how strong your knuckles are. And whenever you punch with the knuckles, it's always the top knuckles you need to start with, not the one of the fingers, one with the top knuckles. And like I said, I'll get more into that when I make the punching video. And so those are basically just some few highlights I'll touch up on punching. So whenever you're training, be sure you wear the proper equipment. If you want to start conditioning your hands, my suggestion is start doing knuckle push-ups. Start off from a soft area and work your way up to concrete. So you go like from carpeting to wood tiles to ceramic tiles to, well, actually, no. From matting to carpeting to tiling to concrete or wood to concrete. So you basically going somewhat in that order. Start out small and then work your way up. Because just like every muscle in your body, you gotta train the muscles in your hands in order to get that conditioning down. You want strong hands, you gotta go through all the pain. And be warned that it can cause arthritis and big giant calluses on your hands. You want to try to train to become good, you have to endure all the pressure and all the torture that comes with it. Training to become the best and become perfected is not easy. I mean, we all have our daily lives to go through, but trying to become a great fighter is not easy. If you want to become almost unbeatable, and even as humans, we're still humans in the octagon and in the ring. We're not entirely unbeatable. So just bear in mind with that. It requires a lot of training. It requires a lot of discipline, and unfortunately, it might cause some relationships. That's entirely is up to you. So I'll get more into about punching in another video. So after I get done with punching, I'm going to show the first kata. Now, as a secondary point in this video, excuse me, as a second point in this video, that there are two kinds of different katas. Well, two different styles of katas. Now, of course, katas are in different form from different styles. And basically, what's the main question about a kata? What is a kata? It's a preset pattern of movements, very choreographed, really, really rehearsed. It's basically like shadow boxing, but you're basically are just doing it on your own, by yourself, at a quiet place where it's either at the park, at the beach, or not. You want to be, alone to practice these things so you can actually get better and better and better. And what they're designed for is usually to try to learn how to defend off multiple attackers. Now, of course, in real life, if you're going to defend multiple attackers, you're not going to go in a straight line, or like I mentioned before, your movements are going to change, your tactics are going to change, your techniques are going to change. So it's all about learning to condition yourself how to fight in all the different levels, from when it comes from one fighter to two to five to almost 10. Because usually when it comes to a barroom brawl, everyone is fighting you. That's the reason why I don't like going to bars, because you can never have a good time. If you're going to go on a date with a girl, you tend to get into a bar fight. Now, never back down from a fight if someone is trying to threaten you at a bar, but always try to be, responsible and try to avoid it. Sometimes you can't avoid it, sometimes you can. It all comes down to you and how you treat it in your own way. But enough of that. Getting back to the katas. Now, they are, like I said, they're very rehearsed, very choreographed. And the one thing about traditionals is that traditional kata is very grounded. So that means that it's been passed down from generation to generation. And it's also very static. So when I teach the first kata, it's going to be very static, very robotic. So it might be a little bit boring. But the thing is, if you watch how I do the movements, you'll try to see how the movements actually flow. Because everything I've been saying up till that point has been trying to get the tools to put into kata. And that's how it all fits in. From the movements, to the stances, to the blocks, to the punching, it's going to go into the first kata. And the first three katas are very, very simple. Because they all go into a 3-point or I formation. I don't know if I can make the I, but you got two areas on top and one in the middle going down, so almost like an I. So, traditional katas, like I said, been passed down from generation to generation to learn how to defend multiple opponents. The Japanese have done it many throughout the centuries, especially throughout the samurai when they use their own techniques in the middle of the garden and learn how to practice. So in some ways, it was effective at the time. But when it's very static and no one's moving anywhere, yeah, it is effective. But when you're moving around trying to defend yourself and learn how to survive, that's only the downfall. You're not going to be moving in a straight line or in an angular. You're going to be moving mostly in a circle or in zigzag-zagging around the lines, and that's and that's what the MMA has done. They don't move in a straight line. They go zigging, zagging, and around in different angles, and you should always train for different angles as well. So that's just traditional kata, basically static choreographed moves to show the technique and the power technique. And traditional katas, they're scored in tournaments from a 1 to 10 point system. So it'd be like 1 to where you suck. You totally suck the entire kata, and you don't deserve to actually deserve anything, not even a medal or a trophy, not even a ribbon for participation. No. 10 is for perfect. Excuse me. 10 is 100% perfect. Your stance was strong, your techniques were strong, you had good form, your balance were on top, you didn't lose control, and it almost looked that it was actually a real original kata that actually was taught by you in your school. So the thing is, when it comes to tournaments and doing kata, it's like American Idol. You gotta get those points. You're being judged by time you get up, being called in your division, to the time when you walk out. So yeah, in some ways, katas and weapons katas, it's like going on American Idol. You're going to be competing against about 16 people in your division, and you gotta make sure you can get up to the top 3. And when it comes to anti-katas, whether it's traditional or open style katas, always try to have a backup kata in case that one doesn't fit so well. Because otherwise, judges are going to look at you and saying, "Is this the only kata he knows? Is this the only kata he knows?" And judges are going to get bored. They don't like their time is precious. They got a whole day schedule on how they actually do katas in tournaments. So that's just a little bit of a tip when you're going to tournaments. Excuse me. Open style katas, I like to call them the circus katas. They basically are like in the circus. When it comes to open style, yeah, we really love a great action film with a lot of good somersaults and a lot of good backflips, handstands, and where you can just jump up in the middle of the whole air, do a spinning back kick, spin 3 times, and come down to 1 foot. It's showmanship. Is all it is. You see it all the time. A lot of great fighters in traditional martial arts had done a lot. I've seen a lot of great katas over the years, and that's all it is about showmanship. Now, of course, you got to have good, strong techniques. It all has to be real good, and you got to make sure you don't lose control. I remember 20 years ago, there were only about 3 of us in my division. One guy actually only did half his kata and then quit because he forgot the rest. The other guy nearly hit a baby in his carriage with his giant staff. Now these staffs are about 5 to 6 feet tall. So the thing is, and I was using a staff of my own, but it was a little bit more lighter. So I had control over it. But this guy had a 6-foot staff, drew it like almost was about to draw, almost like twirling it like a windmill, and almost hit a baby carriage. So that's why sometimes flash can get someone hurt or get someone killed. You're supposed to have a good control of your weapons, and if one almost hits someone, you're disqualified. Just like that. It is your responsibility as a competitor to have good, strong weapons and good, strong katas that's not going to get anyone hurt, and you're not going to get hurt in the process, and yet you still got to put on a show and show you know exactly what you're doing. And open style katas, they do all kinds of different tricks. They do somersaults, they do backflips, they do like a 360 kick around, and they still get judged between a 1 to 10 point ratio system. And I seen one kid, he was the champion of the world, and he had the he was a wushu artist. He had the chain and the spear tip at the end. And what he did, he kept swinging around, and then he'd get on his back and swing around underneath the back, hopping on top of his back. That's what kind of good open style kata you can do. You gotta have control of your weapon. You gotta have good, strong, good good flexibility, and be fluid in your whole kata, and still come down on top. And I seen that they were a big showstopper. So a lot of the choreographing you see in some movies were probably done by martial artists that actually compete and did open style katas. But I still call them circus because they're just meant. And no disrespect to anyone who do open style katas. I mean, they're great. They're brilliant. They're real. Some of them are very well choreographed. But and no disrespect to them. But the thing is that remember, when it comes to a real kata, it has to be practical. It has to be somewhat realism. Because what if you actually try to use it in real life? Basai is a black belt kata. And when I used it the last 6 years ago, my sensei kept telling me you gotta have a vision in your mind on how to do the kata. It has to be realistic. It has to make sense. You're basically trying to act out a scenario where you're being jumped by multiple attackers, and be like, if you go straight like this, you're going to someone's eye. You go straight down like this and grab, you're ripping someone's jeans off. So the thing is, it all has to flow and be powerful and be really assertive on how it actually can work. So that's basically both a little bit of history of boxing with the punching and a little bit of insight on katas. So hopefully next time when I do the video, I'll be teaching you how to punch, and then later with a kata. So this is Albert McDowell signing off.